Hello and welcome to the Still Standing series. I'm your host, Coach Violet Coots, and I'm so happy to have my special guest, Amber Johnson, with me today. I'm a Christian life coach, equipping and empowering individuals to live in their true identity and be who God created them to be, living in the freedom Christ died to give you. I'd love for you to grab my free biblical affirmation cards so you can start renewing your mind today and finding that freedom. And if you're feeling stuck in any area of your life, schedule a free call with me. That link will be in the show descriptions. Hello, Amber. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
I am good. I am good. So why don't we start? Just introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit about you, and then we'll get into your testimony.
Hey, everybody. My name is Amber Johnson, and I am from Philly. I'm 36 years old, just had a birthday not too long ago. Um, and I was a caregiver for my stroke survivor father. But now I am a blogger and a podcaster and just trying to figure out the next steps, but also really I feel like I have a heart for helping people to walk through that journey of what grief is like and just like show up for them, support them, comfort them through that, and also to just encourage people that might be in that season of caregiving. That's like one of my hearts as well, because it's so important that people know that they're not alone because it can be a really isolating time. So I've always felt like I wanted to share, and I've been sharing for a long time about this. I've been on several podcasts just talking about what it's really like, because sometimes people don't know. And when you know, you can do something because, as Maya Angelou says, when you know better, you do better.
Right. Yes. Yes. So yeah, grief and caregiving. Uh, that can be a load. That can be a load and everything. And it is great when you can come along and help somebody on their journey and be that encouragement and everything. So just take this time, share your testimony, tell us how, you know, just tell us how whatever God's laid on your heart to share, how your walk with God and how that's helped you in that time and still helping you. And then, and how, what you want to share going through that time.
So, I think it's probably best to say I would start around circa 2012, 2013. My dad began to have some strokes, which they call transient ischemic attacks, or TIAs.
Mhm.
And what happens with that is that you can have irregular heartbeat, such as AFib. So, people, if y'all have AFib or somebody has AFib in your family, make sure you get that checked out, because that could put you at risk to have a stroke. That is something that I've been trying to really stress when I come on these shows, to just tell people AFib could put you at risk for having a stroke. And we didn't know that at the time, that that's what was happening, but he began to have these strokes. And then, he got better and everything like that. And then, he was getting better. And then he was taking care of his mother, who unfortunately had strokes as well. Well, at least one stroke that I know of. And so, I witnessed that. So it kind of was like foreshadowing for me, but also like a powerful thing. And I just love to see that tender side of him. And it's so important that we are, as women, we're able to witness that in the men in our lives, to be able to see them be tender toward their mothers and take care of their mothers. That's so such an important legacy that he left me. And when I saw that, it motivated me to make sure I showed up for him the same way, to really pay that forward, because we helped take care of her as well. And it was just a family thing. And it's like, okay, that's what you do. My mom was there for her mom as well at the end of her life. So, that's what we do. We love our parents. We show up for them, you know. And you know that's not everybody's story. And some people they don't have the best parents, but when you have a good parent, it's like, what else am I going to do? You know, other people might feel a certain way about that, but it's like, you know, where everybody has an opinion about what you should be doing as a young person and if you should be giving your life up in this way. But
Right.
I feel like it was essential because I didn't want to live in regret and be sad. I would have had way heavier grief, you know, if I did not do what I was supposed to do. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. So then fast forward to August of 2017. He was walking to the track, you know, trying to get back into things, be independent, you know, as he is, that's who he was. He was a very independent person. But he got hit by a car early that morning. He got hit by a car.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So as a result of that, he became bedbound. And so for the next 7 years, that was me and my mom's, you know, whole life.
Mm.
It got consumed by taking care of him. And, you know, after the subsequent strokes and things like that, we were taking care of him. And so many things happened. And but to put it in a nutshell, give you the cliff notes, you know, fast forward to October 9th of 2024, you know, a week from now, it'll be a year that he'll have passed on. So just walking through that journey is a whole nother animal, you know, besides the caregiving. You want to,
Yes.
and all of it, you want to scream and cry and laugh and enjoy the person and cherish the person and show up for the person. And then you want to go somewhere and just be by yourself. And you want to, it's so many different things. So just,
Yeah.
that's it in a nutshell.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. You know, when you mentioned about the AFib and everything, my husband, he had AFib,
Hmm.
and he ended up with a stroke. Now his stroke, thankfully, where it was, it did not leave him. I think he was off work for like 3 months, but then he was able to go back to work, and you didn't see a lot of, you know, the residual things with that.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, when you mentioned that, I was like, yeah, I can relate, you know, to that, you know, at least about the AFib and the stroke and the different things that can be tied there. And so during that time, I mean, as you said 2017, is that
Hmm.
correct, when he got hit
Yes.
and stuff? So how so kind of how did you cope? And we know you took care of him, but how did you cope during that time when it got, because I'm sure it had to get, there was times that I'm sure the pressures, it had to get to that point of like, okay, you know, like a pressure cooker. I'm thinking of a pressure cooker,
Yes.
and you know, and it's like, okay, I gotta let off some steam, I gotta let off some pressure, I need a breath, I need a breath. Uh,
I feel like God was so kind. Just to even backtrack a little bit, I had went to nursing school before all this happened, but it didn't really pan out. And the lady said I didn't have enough experience. But the funny part is, this is why I say God is funny. He allowed me to do all of the things and more beyond what she said I could not do. I ended up doing so much. You know, we had to do IV care. We had to do feeding tube, you know, care. We had to give him his insulin. We had to do so many different things for him that I never would have thought, like take care of him. And he had a trach as well at several points.
um,
So there were so many different things that I had to end up doing that I was like, I wish she could see me now. You know, it's just one of them
right.
feelings like you told me I was unqualified, but look what God got me doing without your assistance. And I understood, it's like one of the things where you feel like it's a wasted season when you don't really succeed at something. But I understood that I needed that wisdom because even to go into the hospital rooms and say, hey, this is what's going on, mom. I could read the machine and say, hey, this is what's going on here. I'm not totally in the weeds. And then even talking to the people, you know, the staff and being, they be like, oh, have you gone to nurses? Going like, yeah, because you know, I would just be able to ask them questions and have a little exchange with them. So just
Yeah.
like little things like that, God was kind. And but to really answer your question, when it first happened, I actually found out at work. So it was like the middle of the day, and so I finished my day, and then I was like, Oh my goodness! Like from there, it was just this whole. I was a ball of anxiety, really, to be honest with you. And I don't feel like I even took time to grieve what actually happened in that moment. I didn't really have the time, but it was like
Yeah.
a whole journey of 8 months of us going back and forth visiting him for a while at different hospitals, like for so long, hospitals and step down units, rehab places. So it was a lot, and what I would do to really compose myself because I had for some crazy reason I think it's because I feel like I had to at the time though. I think I really had to. I stayed at work for like the next 3 years and still was taking care of him at home. After work, I would come home and take care of him till the wee hours of the morning and get back up and go to my job in the afternoon. It was a part-time job, but I was working like 30 hours. And so I was like, I would write these sanity letters, and that was how I got through. I go, you go to the dollar store, they had the grocery list. I'll take that and I'll write mantras on there. I write names of God, I write scriptures, and I would just have that. And then if I needed to, I'll start doodling more scriptures on there. And I'll just be like, just looking at that throughout the day. I'll tape it to my register and look at that. And then it was like when people would ask about my dad, I would just get so tearful because they'd be like, how's your dad? Because they knew I would talk about him all the time. So they'd be like, how's your dad? And I'm like, oh, and I would just so I was like, it was a hard time. It really was. And then every time they took him to the hospital, because he went to the hospital so many times, it was like I got really upset, and for like sometimes I couldn't even watch them take him out, like take him out the house. I was just get upset. It just got to be a lot. And then it was like, I put on your big girl panties and do what you gotta do. But that's when I really understood the importance of being close to God though. Because it paid dividends to be like, oh yeah, like even when you don't feel like it, open your Bible, put on that praise and worship music. I call it a worship snack now. Make sure that you put on your praise and worship music. Make sure you have your devotional. Make sure you're reading a blog, even if you're reading an email devotional. Make sure you're praying. Make sure even prayer journaling, whatever you decide to do. Um, and it wasn't until like a few, actually 6 months before, was it 6 months? Yeah, it was about 6 months before he passed. I actually sought out therapy and started to figure that out, what that looked like for me and who I need to go to. And so I started going to therapy, and I think that was pivotal to
Yeah.
even start that process. And I found my good person. I found her. I've been with her for like a year now. I found her for 2 months before he passed. I found her, and I was like, this is just like, that's how I've been coping. Therapy, bereavement, support groups, and family and friends that show up for me consistently. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Mm. But all that is so important to have somebody that you can turn to. And I think what you did by seeking out that therapy to say, I do need help, I want help, and to reach out to get help, instead of just continuing like it's all got to be a me, it's got to be me, and I got to just focus on him and everything. Because I'm sure with caregivers, our main concern, that person's main concern is the person they're caregiving for. But if we, I think of the when you get on the airplane and stuff, they'll say, hey, if there's a
Mhm.
problem, what you got to do? You got to put your mask on first before you try to save somebody else. But that's hard to do. It's one thing to do that if it was an airplane going down and it's just you got to act right then for that. But when this is a long drawn out thing, then and you're always doing that. But and I wrote down, I looked down because I wrote down. You said worship snack. Is that what you?
Yeah, that's what I
So
call it.
cool.
You have to have little moments throughout the day because I think there's a tendency, even with the best of intentions, to compartmentalize God to the morning. We feel like, oh, he's in the morning, done. Oh, and it's like, no, you need to keep going back. Like, find a reason to go back or find a way to come back to him. Like, even for instance, something as simple as this: if you have like a smart speaker like Alexa, what I would do is I programmed her to say at 8 o'clock at night, I programmed her to remind me of a verse. And so she'll
Oh,
say a verse, and because you just type it in there, like you go on the app and you just put it in the reminders and be like, she'll be like, this is a reminder. And then she'll just go into, you will keep in perfect peace, all who trust you, all whose thoughts are fixed on you. And so I just have her say the whole thing out in the translation.
that
So
is awesome.
that that
Yes.
that's a way to have a worship snack. It's simple things like, or even exercising with somebody that plays gospel music. Like I like the watch channels where people exercise the gospel music, so that way you feel like you got two birds in one stone,
That's right.
little
Yeah.
moments.
Yeah, yeah, no, I like that when you, kind of stack things up because my morning routine is to get up and I'll ride my stationary bike. But while I'm
Yes, I
riding
just
the stationary
did
bike, then, I read a devotional. Sometimes I'll talk with God and everything, but just kind of stacking those type things so that I'm just not there mindlessly sitting on the, doing the riding the bike or not riding the bike, but it's like, no, I can do this at the same time and stuff.
Yes,
And
that's what I've been trying to do. Like even if I find like a short clip, because I'm not gonna, I don't feel like I'm gonna ride for like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, but like watch something for like half that time and then stretch, or like I'll find like my favorite songs from my favorite artists on YouTube, and because we have a TV, and so I just sit there in front of it and like I put on I was just find some songs I liked and I was just cycling and then stretching, and so it was just so funny that you said it, because like yeah, I'm like I felt like a burst of energy today. And I was like, I'm getting on that bike and I'm gonna put on some music. So and then we had brought it up from the basement to motivate ourselves. Me and my mom have been trying to work on that too. Because we were a team all through and through. So we both are trying to just find our way now. And that's like the biggest journey, like because you are a certain person when you lose somebody, and then you're a certain person like after that loss. Like before that, you're two different people before and after you lose somebody. So you have to understand that and then grieve that person that you were and just accept who you're becoming, and just it's like you're emerging again. Like it's a fresh version of you. It's a
yes.
stripped down version of you, you know?
Yes, yeah. As I mentioned to you before we started recording, I lost my husband. My husband passed away in 2017, and so I can definitely relate to that. And things like even like when parents invest in their kids, and then they call it empty nest syndrome. The kids go out of the
Hmm.
house, and then it's like, wait a minute, I've poured all these years into my child. Who am I? So we can lose ourselves in these things. But the good thing is, or I'd say here is make sure that you are finding your new self because there is fresh, and God's mercy is new every day, and He has more for us. It takes a while, and everybody's grief journey, is different, and it looks different, but we still go through those same things and stuff like that. We still go through certain, all the steps and things, and but being able to say no, there's still more for me out there. And then taking the time, you and I mentioned that a little bit earlier too, before we got on here, is taking the time necessary to allow ourselves to grieve, to allow ourselves to rest and just be refreshed. And then to say, okay, now what's the next, what's this new chapter? And have some good expectations of that because, God still has a plan and He has a good plan, and so and not rush into, well, what I have to do such and such. Let it unfold. Let it unfold.
Right. That's the biggest thing for me, because I've been told that over and over, don't rush the season. And also with what you said about he still has things in store. I remember distinctly, it's one of the highlights of my life in a way. We were at the funeral, and this lady, she was a friend of the family. She got up and she said, "Woman of God, daughter of God, you did excellent." And she was like, "This is not the end of your story. God has more for you." And that always really just stuck with me, like this whole time, this last year, that's been in my head. And just really, it felt good to be like publicly recognized, because sometimes people, you feel like people don't see you, and you feel isolated when you're doing something for so long. And like you said, I feel like it kind of brings to mind Galatians 6:9. Don't grow weary in well doing. I had to keep on like ruminating on that. Don't grow weary in well doing, for in due season you reap a harvest if you faint not. So just understanding that you it's like it's a long game, really, when you think about doing something like that, and it's a sacrifice. But I know that I had peace, and me and my mom, we have a great level of peace because we know we did all we can do, and we were there for him, and we supported him, and we loved on him, and we told him how we felt about him. So it was just I feel like it's something that I felt good about, even though sometimes people might look at it and be like, wow, that was a long time that you did not do what you would want to do. But I think it made me a better person. And that's the thing that I think is it's a gift when you really think about it. It's a gift to even love somebody that deeply, to want to do that and love somebody. That's what grief is about, though, because it's the price you pay for loving somebody, is
Yeah.
that you're gonna feel that loss and that absence, but it's not trying to move forward without them, but just like managing the grief and how you carry that, and as it evolves and as you evolve, it's just a whole dance. Like, okay, I love them and I miss them, but how can I find a way to do something different and figure out a new routine and get used to this new normal that is, and just try
Right.
to still live, because they will want me to live, and they will
Yes.
want me to do something, like not just wallow for the rest of my life. But it's also like it's so many emotions that people don't think about, like anxiety. It's not just being depressed or being in a fetal position. You get anxiety about things that you never thought you would, about like your parents, your surviving parents' mortality, other people's mortality, your own mortality. And you just really have to really get a grip on that word, because it's like if you don't get a grip on the word, you would just really kind of spiral. And then that's how you reframe. I'm learning to reframe like David did. I really love his gift, and I'm realizing that he has such a gift for reframing. That's what David was. He was like a master reframer, because he
Oh,
would
I
give
like
himself
that.
these brilliant pep talks in the Bible, like, why is my soul downcast? Why is so disturbed within me? And he would say, put your hope in God. He would tell himself these things, and we have to learn to be like that, and just let that be our framework when we're going through. Hey, what's going on? Like, no, I know what time I'm afraid I put my trust in you. Like, he would just say things, and it was like, I just really have gained such a respect for that in the last few months, like reading through the Psalms. I do these sleep Psalm books. It's this book called Sleep Psalms. And what they do is they give you a portion of the Psalm. There's little verses, and then it's like not the entire one all the time unless it's really short. And then they say, go through adoration, confession, thanksgiving, and supplication. That's the X formula for prayer.
Right.
And so it's been really helpful, because it's like, David, you was really out here, like, like you would do in the mirror. Like, you were like, I am somebody. Like, he was literally saying, no, this is who God is. I gotta remind myself of that. I'm down in the depths. I'm down in the pit. But yet and still, God is still God. So that's kind of like where you have to learn to be when you want to get all, feel what you feel, but take you gotta get out of it. Like my therapist says, you can visit the rabbit hole, but you cannot unpack. You can't live there.
Right.
So that's what
Yes.
I'm learning.
Yeah, that's so important. So important. So, so let me ask you this now. Obviously, your faith helped you get through this period and is still helping you and everything. So, did you grow up in faith? Did or when did you start having that faith in God? When did you kind of have that start walking with God?
I feel like I always go back to when I was 9 years old, and my aunt, she used to take me to like vacation Bible school, and she used to we used to do the, like, if I had to go to her house, it was devotions. If I went over her house, had to spend the night, and that means that we was going to church on Sunday. So it was like that type of thing. And then my grandmother always used to say, go to church, go to church, go to church. But for me, I feel like that wasn't necessarily my story, because I feel like you don't get the understanding of why you need God until you get to a certain age. So it was like when I was like maybe 18, maybe like early 20s, I started to understand it more. And my dad, he always had like, and you know how, like, it's not like you see people do things, but the way he lived his life, it
Mhm.
was always like, it was a lot of faith-based content that he would listen to. So he would always have motivational speakers in the car. Like he would have Joyce Meyer, he would have like Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, Brian Tracy, Anthony Robbins. Like he would have these people just blasting through the speakers. And then every now and then he would have a preacher, and then some of them would even get kind of a little asthmatic, and you know how some people do, like you know, and just have certain people that would just be blasting through the speakers. And if it wasn't that, you know, he would have his R&B once a time, like Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind and Fire, but or somebody. But most of the time, it was gonna be gospel. It was gonna be Hezekiah Walker, gonna be Kurt Franklin, Fred Hammond. He was gonna have people that really uplifted him. And even then, if it wasn't that, he was in the house watching TD Jakes sermons or
Yeah.
whoever, like, you know, he'll be watching certain people on there, like so, and his library was just so vast. Like
Wow,
the
that's great.
things that he would read, and then he would be listening, just always trying to learn, always
Mm,
trying to grow. And so when I saw that, that's why I was like, yeah, like I feel like that made me want to like understand more about it. And then I started being like that, like get up in the morning, be like this young 20 something, get up, going to my little part time job, like put on TD Jakes in the morning, eat some oatmeal. You know, it started to really become a thing. And but with like the more you get deep into things like caregiving, it's like, oh, you don't have no choice but to be with God. And you start to learn. There were some things that I feel like I had to unlearn because it's not about religion, it's about
yeah.
relationship with God. And
Yes.
so, and it's not about the legalism part, it's about having a relationship and like really talking to him. I don't have to be, I'm learning to get out of the whole thing where I feel like it has to be so eloquent, or you feel like you gotta have, like, some people feel like you gotta be prostrate or whatever. And sometimes when we get so mechanical, it's like God just wants you to be you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's what I'm learning. Like I can be me with God. He knows who I am. He made me. He wants
Right.
me to grow, but he's not going to, like, you know, turn me away because of how I am right now. And so just knowing that he's with me in all the seasons and he loves me, but just really having a deeper understanding. I feel like I'm getting a way deeper understanding of God and what it means to know God and live for God and walk with God than I've ever gotten because of this season that I'm walking through. And I feel like it's a place of evolution and maturity for me that I haven't experienced before. And knowing that God is really your friend. You know, he's rooting for you. He doesn't have malicious intent. He doesn't have ill will towards you. He wants the best for you. So all of those things, really learning about his character, focusing on the names of God, like who is he, what is he about, and just learning that that's what it's really about. And I didn't have that before. And you know, because it's one thing to be around things and know things, but it's another thing to go through and be like, oh, all right, I get it now. I need you because if not, I'm gonna fall apart. So
Yeah. Well, I agree with everything, but I loved because as you was just telling your story, as you was talking about your dad and everything, it was just like he modeled that for you. He modeled that for you, and you was able to see that in his life, and then just and then incorporate. I won't say just incorporate it, no, but incorporate that and realize, hey, yeah, that's what I want and everything. I think that's just beautiful. That's a legacy that that's
yes.
legacy that your dad has left.
Yeah, he was a leader. He was an encourager. He was a minister of music. He was an organist. He played the piano. He played the organ.
Yeah.
Um, he was always encouraging people. He was like the choir director at his church. You know, he would always do like gigs. He was always trying to like have more church musicians, like encourage that and facilitate the process of just really getting more of that out there, like people teaching people to play organ at their churches and be play the piano at their churches and things like that. Teaching at schools, teaching at senior centers. He just loved people like that. He loved to teach, and he had people teaching the violin. He had his own music school. He was teaching
Wow.
violin, guitar, and drums, and piano and singing. He did backing tracks for people. So he was always doing something. He had the jazz band going. He was doing so many things. And
Wow.
it was just like that was his heart, was to just have a knack for leadership, connecting people, encouraging people. Music, he loved music dearly. That was really his life for real. He loved music. And just all of that, like, and just I just feel like that's what he was. And I feel like that's in me, that stick to itiveness to really just commit to that life of encouragement. And
Mm.
so that's like the greatest gift he gave me. That's his deposit, you know?
Right. Yes. Yes. And even as you sound all about that about him, we've talked a couple of different times and everything. And I was like, yes, I see you. I see him in you and everything. And that's just wonderful. That's just wonderful.
Yeah.
Um, so let me ask you this. We talked about where you have hearing the Bible verses at night and just different things. Do you have like a life verse? Do you feel like, because there's so many verses in the Bible, and I know sometimes it's no, some people don't have one because there's just too many, but sometimes there's different ones through this based on the season we go through. But do
Yes.
you feel like you have had a special verse that's kind of been, that's my hold on to verse, that's my go back to verse?
Yes,
It
I
doesn't
feel
have to be
like
this
it
one.
was one of the first ones that I remember. Because I used to be look, I really was like, when I first started trying to get close to the guy, I was like, I had like this Bible thing where it was like a memory app where you can like put different things in there. And so it's Second Timothy 1:7 was on the first ones I remember. For God's not giving us a spirit of fear, but a power, love, and a sound mind. And I
Mm.
feel like that's like I put that, as far as my podcast and stuff that I have, B channel podcast, blessing, edifying, and encouraging others to live their best lives. That's what my blog, my podcast is about. And so, I have people on there and things like that. And I write and just talk about things that's going on, whether it's faith, whether it's relationships, those kind of things. And so that verse was really pivotal to me because remember, just to call back to the Sanity Letters. One day, I was writing, I was writing on my sanity letter because I was getting anxious, so I wrote another verse. I wrote Second Timothy 1:7. I just scribbled it in the corner of my little paper, and then I was in line. I was working. I was a cashier, so I was working, and this lady came on my line. I lie to you not. She came online with a bracelet on that said Second Timothy 1:7. And then on the other side, it said no more fear. And I said, I love your bracelet. And this was around the time my dad had just got hit by a car and stuff.
Mm.
So it was really powerful for me when I saw that bracelet, and I was like, I love it. But she's like, oh, you can have it. She took it right off and gave it to me. I was like, what? She was like,
Um,
yeah, I got more from my church. And so I was like, oh my goodness. And then from that point on, I felt like that was a God wink, and I really believe in God winks. And I feel like it was a pivotal moment for me because I feel like, oh, God sees me. God
yeah.
is really like he really works through people, and
Yes.
that thing was really just powerful for me. So that's why I say that's my life verse. Because I
Uh,
was really going through it that day. And I was like, whoa,
yeah.
for her to come to my line at the time I was working and to
Right.
come through there with that exact verse on her bracelet, it was
Yes.
just,
Yeah. And that also shows the power that we do have, and the power of of people, God working through the people.
Mhm.
And we don't know just how important a conversation might be with someone. You just taking that time to see them, or doing that act of kindness that she did. She didn't know, I'm sure she didn't know your whole history and what all was going on, but God did. But God did, and that's beautiful. And He does work through us, and we need to keep that more in mind when we have those little thoughts in our head, or it's like, oh, maybe I feel like I should do this, and it's like, where did that come from? Well, God telling you
Yeah,
to
like
do
those
that.
little nudges, like
Yeah.
it's really powerful. Like, and I always call it I call it a Rima word too. When things just keep coming back to you, you keep seeing the same verses. Like, okay, you're trying to tell me something. Let me pay attention to that. And so that's one of the most powerful things though that ever happened. And I was like, all right, like I feel like he really be listening when it would start happening like that. Okay, I'm in tune. We in sync. So
Yes.
it's kind of
Beautiful.
a fun moment because sometimes we as Christians like, okay, you cannot see this man. You cannot, you can't audibly hear, but the word is your way to hear and prayer is your way to talk to him as well.
Yeah.
And when people do things or when you look at nature, or you hear a song and it makes you cry or whatever, that's all God to me. So
Yeah.
it's like it's different ways of him communicating with you and finding a way to get to you. Like, I got you. Don't you worry about it. I got you in a cradle in my arms and you in the center of my will. I've not forgotten about you. Isaiah 49. You are written. You tattooed. Your name is
Yeah.
tattooed there. I'm not forgetting about you. I haven't forgot you. Can a mother forget the baby she has nursed? No. So it's like just understanding that like his heart for us is nurturing, is tender, is
Yeah.
caring. It's not just he's up there, he's powerful, and he's far away and aloof and distant. No, he's close. Elohai Mikarab, God who is near.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Wonderful. Um, so, and then the other thing I'll always like to ask people, knowing what you know now, having come
Mhm.
through what you've come through and everything, what either advice or encouragement would you like to leave with the audience today?
I would say that it's so vital to, first of all, have boundaries, to know what you will and you won't tolerate, and to make sure that you, number two, you're taking care of yourself. Um, and number three, you gotta have a vital, like a support system, and to know, like, it's important though, because when people can be fickle, but it's important to love them loosely in that way, and understand that God's going to love you best, but he sends people sometimes to love you alongside him. So it's like, find who your people are that's going to be therapeutic for you, that's going to help you, that's going to understand, that's going to be able to walk through it with you. Because I think looking back, I felt like I could not really bring that to people, because I was worried as an empathetic person. I was extremely worried about putting too much on people, and being a burden, and being a bother, and being a nuisance and a Debbie Downer. Even through grief, I still worry about that. So just understanding that people, if they love you, they're going to be there. It might be a break, a respite from what they're going through personally, to be able to talk to you. But they also, it's important that each of us has the bandwidth though, and not trying to. I'm learning to um not dump on people, but dose. What does that mean? That means that I'm not going to tell somebody my entire life story in an afternoon, right? I'm going to say, hey, let me give them a little bit of something, and just a little bit of me. I can keep some of me for myself, but I also have to be enough, open and vulnerable enough to say, or transparent, I should say, because vulnerable means sometimes can mean you feel like you're unsafe, but I think it's important to be transparent enough to say, hey, I'm having a hard time. I really need you. This is what I need from you. I need to hear from you weekly, or whatever it is. And also just knowing who your people are, because some people are close, some people are going to be associates. So just know, who is that person I could call in the middle of the night when I'm really having a rough time? Who is that person? And then also for the people to know how to support you, tell them how to support you, but also just know what you can expect based off their track record as a person. Well, how have they shown up before? Don't expect them to jump and be different now. And so, and then also giving them enough a great grace to embrace this person that you are now, because you're not the same as you were before the thing happened, the trauma happened, whatever it is.
Right.
So I'm learning all about that. Like, okay, it's a give and take in these relationships. You got to really work at it, put this effort in. And if you want people to show up for you, you also got to show up for them. But boundaries, so it's like it all kind of goes back to boundaries. Like, what do you want? What do you need? And how do you need it? And just making sure that you just, your Jesus with skin on in that way to other people. Because like
Mm.
sometimes like people can't see, they on the outside looking in, and they have opinions, but they haven't walked through something, so it's
Mm.
hard for them to really resonate and just be there for you like you need. That's why I say it's like therapeutic people, like the support groups, like, oh, I know I can talk to them. And once a month I know I can hear from these people, and they're gonna, they're gonna get it. I don't have to over explain myself. And just
Right.
knowing that is a powerful thing, knowing that you have somebody, knowing you had a therapist, Jesus and therapy. I stress that, therapy and theology. I stress that, like, it's so important to have that person to talk to. They can't fix it, but they can listen, and they can reframe. They can say, hey, maybe think about it like this. And just this healthy dialogue about things is so important. The communication is vital, because if you don't do it, that people can't help you if they don't know what you're
Right.
walking through. And I kind of really isolated so hard, because I'm like, I'm a young person. I have these other young people in my life. They're doing different things. They got different life seasons. They don't get it, you know? And, or if they got kids, or they got a husband, I don't want to do too much and overburden them. But it's like I was saying, you have to really know, okay, have a conversation. Don't assume. Have
Right.
courageous conversations, and just say,
Agree.
hey, okay, this is what I got going on. Can you work with that or not? Okay, they say no. All right, well, that's not your person. But you have to be able to go walk through that. And then even before you, this is the thing, even before you get into a crisis, don't wait till you get into a crisis to find your people. That's
Yeah.
pivotal. Don't wait till you get in a crisis because you are going to be drowning by yourself and you don't have nobody to pull you out. So you need to say, hey, before I go through something, like really assess who are your people, because after grief, I'm telling you from personal experience, you're going to really know for sure, have a lot of clarity about who's there and who's not. And people really show who they are. And sometimes it's not that they're malicious, they just can't get it, or everybody don't have the capacity for what you're walking through. So it just all boils down to just having the conversations, having communication, having clarity, boundaries, self care, all of that. Like staying with God, even when you don't want to, like opening the Bible app for the last 358 days, whether I felt like it or not, opening the Bible app anyway. Having your time to yourself, when you know that you need time to yourself, do something good for you, and don't feel like it's a hardship to do something good for you. And like, why are you last? You know what I'm saying? Like you're not even on the list sometimes. You're on the back burner
Right.
so bad that you ain't
Yeah.
even think about yourself. And it's like that's what it teaches you sometimes. And it's a bad lesson. Don't do that to
Right.
yourself. And
Yes.
so
Yeah.
honor yourself and honor other people. Don't bleed on people with the grief. So many different things. Like be aware. Okay, is this grief speaking or is this me speaking from a pure place? And just really assessing. Like, I don't want to come off like that. So just it's so many different dynamics. I could be talking about this all day, but that's
Right.
kind of just a bit. It's hard to really summarize, but that's
Yeah. Yeah.
so much I can say on it.
Yes, no, but that's great. So much good, so many good things there for people to think about and remember. And I liked that you said tell people what you need, because I feel like, and I've been in that place. It's like you want to do something, you want to help, but you don't really know how to help. And
Right, and then you might
so
not know at first, but after
yeah,
a while, you start to know, like, "Oh, dang," like but that's the thing, the isolation sometimes is like, you got a lot of time to think. You be like, "Okay, well, I know I didn't like that, but I like that." So
yeah.
hindsight's 2020, and that's what's like, I wish I knew that, but I had to walk through it to know it.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Yes. But I
Oh,
like that
man.
being the transparent and then and letting people be able to do what they can for you, but giving them the grace to also they're human too, and they don't they don't always know, and they don't can't always do what you really need. But I
Yeah.
loved everything you said. I loved everything you
Yeah,
said.
and definitely don't feel like you gotta the first year, I'll say this about the first year. The milestones are important, but don't feel like you gotta pressure everybody to remember every one of them. And don't feel like you have to always celebrate every one of them. Like feel go through it as you like wait till it's like one day at a time. So like don't feel like, oh, I gotta celebrate them all the same way or I gotta do something every time. You might not feel like it. Maybe next year will be different. I don't know. But it's like just understanding like, hey, oh, do I feel like going out? Do I feel like acknowledging this on a deep level? Or do I just want to, like, I wrote my dad letters. That's what I do for every milestone. I write him letters. And I would sit and look at a picture and or a dog tag that I made for him and I would read it to him as if he's really here. And just knowing
Right.
that the relationship evolves. It does not stop just because they going. You can still have a connection and sometimes even deeper and it still goes on. It's like, how is it different? He's going, but it's a beautiful thing to be able to say, "Hey, this is what's going on, Dad. This is what you missed. Like, I want to tell you about that."
Mhm.
So that's what that tool is for me to be able to write them letters and just understanding it. Like everything is going to be different for everybody. Like everybody, like you said, it's not the same. Some people might actually like be able to do all this, and some people might be too much for them. But it's like,
Right.
um, I was like, yo, think about this. If you have a friend, do you know their pet's birthday, their spouse's birthday, their child's birthday, and all the people's anniversaries and everything and death anniversaries? No. But that's the pressure that I was putting myself under and thinking that other people could do that too. So that is not really, it's too much. Like maybe say, hey, I need you to be with me on my dad or hit me up on my dad's birthday or his anniversary. Okay. But the rest of it, I need to walk through it, like find a different way because that's too much pressure and it's exhausting for you as the person. It's unsustainable and it's unrealistic. So that's just one more thing I wanted to make sure I say.
Yeah, no, no, that's fine. That's great. Okay. Well, I certainly appreciate you coming on and being able to share. your experience, and be the encouragement, because I know, people that's listen to this, there's things that you said in there that is so very encouraging. And we all have experienced and will continue to experience grief in one shape or form. It's not just the death of someone, although that's a huge one and everything, but grief is part of our life. Grief is part of
Yeah,
life.
secondary
And
losses too.
yeah,
Secondary
learning
losses with
learning how to
friends.
do that. Yes.
The
So, but
friends that you don't have in the
yeah.
next season.
So, but thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I wish you well. And I just love. I'll say this. I love your energy. I love how you just, even going through your own grief, though, just how encouraging you are, and sharing all that things and stuff. So, I will. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap this up today?
Um, I would say the main thing in this whole thing is whatever season you're going through, whether it's hard, whatever it is, it could be just a hard day. You gotta learn to be kind to yourself and like
Mm,
even if it's like, hey, I got a little slip of paper and I'm gonna make a list. Um, not trying to make this big giant list of,
right.
this is two different things. So like just understanding like, hey, what can I accomplish today? Even if that's one thing, even if you got out of bed, you brushed your teeth, you
Yes.
ate something, you opened your blinds.
Yes.
Be like appreciative and grateful for that and just thank God every day for breath and for purpose and that you have another day to get it right and he gave you the gift of the two eyes opening again. So I just
Yeah.
really trying to be grateful for that every day. So just think about
Mm,
that.
yeah. That's very good. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I hope that this has encouraged you. And in fact, if it has, please, like it, share it, leave a comment on there. And again, if you've got know someone who's going through through something, some kind of grief, and you think this can be an encouragement to them, then share this with them. Uh, and I do like to always close with Isaiah 43:2. And that, of course, says, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, nor shall the flames scorch you." So again, if you'd like to, if this has helped you, please let us know. And if you are feeling stuck, then reach out, get on my calendar. If you want to, uh, if you need help, if you just need to talk, because talking is a big thing. But just reach out, because we don't. God is there for you, and others are there for you as well. So again, thank you for being here for this episode, and then we will see you again. Thanks, Amber. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Bye.